This year's theme for the Oratorical Contest is What the World Gains from Optimism. I thank you very much for coming, participants and family members and officials. And could Chief Eric Hawkins of the Southfield Police Department will have a moment of silence, the Optimist Creed, and we will do our Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning. Good morning. And please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. And on behalf of the Southfield Police Department, men and women in my department and our city administration, it's a pleasure being here this morning. You know, it's young ladies and young men, you know, we're very, very proud of you, not just in the school district, but with other places within city government. So congratulations, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say. And Superintendent, thank you for all you're doing. We're very, very proud of what you and your staff have been doing in the Southfield Public Schools, and we look forward to working with you guys as we move forward. So we'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. Where is that?
Flag's right here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now the Optimist Creed. Promise yourself to be strong, that nothing can disturb your peace of mind, to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet, to make all your friends feel that there is something in them, to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true, to think only of the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best. To be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. To forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. To wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every creature a smile. To give so much time to improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. To be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble. Thank you.
What the world gains from optimism. I often think about how the world would be if we all supported each other with an optimistic attitude. Our world isn't perfect, but we can make it better. Our greatest challenges can't be faced unless we all make a change. I believe that if we all cooperated with each other by having an optimistic attitude, we will give ourselves and others an environment with more positivity and hope. There will be less conflicts in our world. Our actions and words can make a difference in how we solve different problems. The more optimistic people we have in the world, the more people we will have to inspire and encourage others to have a positive outlook on the world. Optimism is the most important human trait that will help the world come together to create a better tomorrow. It's amazing how an optimist can change someone's perspective about different topics and issues around the world. You see, if we can make someone's day with optimism, we can make everyone else have a growth mindset. Maybe we need to start teaching the importance of having an optimistic attitude in our schools. Students will probably be more successful the earlier they understand the impact of an optimistic attitude. For example, they will not give up easily when faced with a new challenge. They will encourage their peers to take action when others are in need. Nelson Mandela stayed optimistic through rough times. He made a better life and society for everyone because he peacefully protested for apartheid to end in South Africa. He also made a better life because he wanted everyone to have racial equality. He once said, "I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the success over it." The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but who conquers that fear. Our very own Henry Ford's optimistic attitude led him to creating the first moving assembly line. We all have the capability to create new inventions, find new discoveries, and create a better future with an optimistic attitude. We are a strong nation, and optimism is the key ingredient to our success. Thank you.
What the world gains from optimism. Sandra Bland, Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Renisha McBride, Eric Gardner. These are the names etched in the tombstones of those wrongfully killed. A woman was denied the right to visit her same-sex partner in the ICU because her relationship was not legally recognized. January of 2017, men and women expressed their utmost concern for women's rights. These three scenarios were times, seconds, in fact, moments where optimism appeared to be another tribulation. However, it was through adversity that the Black Lives Matter movement was born. Same-sex marriage was legalized in the United States, and the Women's March became an international symbol of the unified force for women's rights. So when asked what the world gains from optimism, the answer is simple. It's fire, light, and unity. Now, when I was in the 5th grade, my school presented me with the opportunity to learn how to play an instrument. You see, I pondered upon the idea of becoming a musician until another student said to me that you probably won't be good anyway. At that moment, an ardent fire was ignited inside of me, and I realized that becoming the best instrumentalist possible was a goal that I would achieve. Optimism creates a burning fire and desire for one to work, look, and believe in newer beginnings. When someone decides to look at the brighter side, the fire of optimism begins to spread like a wildfire and to create the same burning desire in others to change the world. Now, with this fire, the world gains a second component, which is light. Some may argue that light and fire are merely the same thing, but it is the fire within the optimist which causes them to radiate a peculiar light. You see, this light, it seeps into every corner in the room and is felt by all who are touched. When I decided to be optimistic and become an instrumentalist, I began to shine in a way which encouraged my other friends to pursue music as well. The light which the optimist emanates is one that encourages others to see that there is always light in a darkened situation. You just have to find it. Optimism initiates what I like to call the luminosity effect. When someone decides to bypass negativity, they begin to radiate a light which causes them to be contagious to other people. Now, with this light, they begin to shine and have a beam. And this beam illuminates the room and causes other beams of optimism to arise in other people. The world begins to glow due to the luminosity effect and encourage the same beam of optimism in others. So once the fire is being ignited and the light illuminates the world, unity is the other component which the world gains. When people choose to be positive and exude a sanguine nature, they draw others towards the nature of the optimist. People begin to open their minds and listen to the sweeter side of a situation eventually. And with that, the spirit of amalgamation is brought to the world, and the essence of learning and listening by the hands of optimism is created. You see, the mind of the optimist is contagious. It draws others to listen, discover, and understand. And with that, the world gains unity by the hands of optimism. Choosing to look towards a more favorable future is something that has driven every single change in our world. The movements and laws which I aforementioned were just a few examples of the power of optimism. Jalaluddin Rumi once said that, like a sculptor, if necessary, carve your friends out of stone and try to see the treasure in everyone. When we do this, the fire is ignited, the light illuminates the room, and the power of unity is felt by the hands of optimism. Thank you.
Today I am here to tell you what the world gains from optimism. Have you ever wondered what the world gains from optimism? Was it just a mere thought that soared into one ear and flew out the other? Well, one day I was asked that question, and I didn't really think much of it. I was surrounded by so many pessimistic people as it was. So I want people to adhere to the benefits of being optimistic. There's an anonymous quote that says, 7 billion people experience this day in a different way. So when you think about it, no matter what goes on in your life, it's up to you how you handle it. Sure, you can't always help what's thrown at you, but you can always control how you catch it. Besides, stressing over things that you can't change is pure nonsense. Stop looking at the negative side of things and start thinking of what you can do to change the situation for the better. However, staying positive has beautiful effects. If you received a bad grade on a report card, instead of draining yourself in regret, try to do better next time. Work hard, pay attention, and study more. Even me today, I was so nervous speaking in front of everyone. But I told myself, what could go wrong? And then I thought, no, what could go right? We all go through things that others just don't understand. However, the world will change with one positive mind at a time. If each one of us releases positive energy, we can spread it to others. Be hopeful and change the way you view things. Now, I'm going to give you 3 of the many reasons for being optimistic. First, it gives you the attribute of developing patience. The more you wait for good things to happen, the more you become patient, which is wonderful. Nothing good comes easy. It takes time, patience, and hard work. Secondly, it gives you peace of mind, which is healthy and proactive. Who likes being around people that only think negative? They think that nothing in their lives is going to change? Or what about the person that simply doesn't even try because they think that there's no point? I know I don't. It starts to make you feel the way they do. Sickening, guilty, and ashamed. Another reason for being optimistic is it reduces worrying. The more you think about the bad things, the more you feel sad, overthink, and worry, which is not healthy whatsoever. So the leading question is, how do you become optimistic? Start by setting realistic goals and expectations. Don't set an expectation that is overrated and then get upset when things just don't quite work out. We're only human, and there's only so much that can be done in limited time. Only acknowledge the past to reflect. Don't keep looking back. We all know we're not going that way. Believe in yourself and surround yourself with optimistic people. The more optimists we have, the more the world becomes an optimistic society. So starting today, right now, in this exact moment, smile because you have nothing to lose. Everything might not always go right, but it will one day. Believe in your dreams, and anything you think you are capable of, you are. You are special and you can do it. Be confident in everything that you do. Never let a pessimist tell you anything different. You are worth it. A quote by Nicholas Murray Butler states, "Optimism is essential to achievement and it is also the foundation for true progress." So if you remember nothing I said today, remember that the world changes with one optimist at a time, and that one optimist can be you. Thank you.
What the world gains from optimism. Our attitude has a profound effect on our life. Earl Nightingale once said, "Our attitude towards life determines life's attitude towards us." Optimism is a state of mind that only you can find within yourself. Being optimistic means to try to always find the light in any dark situation, to expect the unexpected, and make the most out of a situation while staying hopeful. Many people around us are so apathetic that they fail to see the upside of life. Perhaps instead of seeing the world as it is, we should begin to see the world for what it could be. Developing the attitude of an optimist will impact an individual's outlook on the world. They have the ability to see the bigger picture. Therefore, if more people open their eyes to a world of positivity, the rate of optimism in our environment would increase. Today, the news is used as a main source of information, which mainly focuses on the downfall rather than the good in our society. Maybe we need a segment on the news titled "The Power of Optimism." A segment that would showcase the good. A segment that would showcase the deeds rather than the crimes committed by people. We have all heard the saying, "It takes a village to raise a child." I used to hear that saying a lot when I was a little younger. Everyone in the neighborhood would come together to help raise the children in the community. Today, you'll hear, "That's not my child, so why should I care?" Optimistic people don't go in the house and close their door in isolation. No, instead, they create a village that produces children that will become optimistic people by modeling that behavior. At school, I have been taught about fixed and growth mindsets. People trapped within a fixed mindset have less confidence in their capabilities. Those with a growth mindset tend to push beyond their abilities and propel themselves into the mindset of an optimist. Mahatma Gandhi once said, "A small body of determined spirits fired by an unquenchable faith in their mission can alter the course of history." What can a small body of determined spirits do? The world suffers a lot, not because of the violence of bad people, but because of the silence of the good people. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. What the world gains from optimism. Just take a moment and think about that. Let's just start with the word optimism. This now has 3 syllables, 8 letters. One O-P-T-S. 2 I's and 2 M's. Oxford Dictionary refers to this term as hopefulness and confidence about the future, or the success of something. Webster refers to this as a feeling or belief that good things will happen in the future, or at least what you hope for will happen. Now, with all this being provided, let's look at the big picture. What the universe gains from hopefulness and confidence about the future. Well, as a variety should know, the human race makes up majority of this world. So optimism would change them, the people. In my eyes, I see less violence being conducted, more of a positive, high spirit taking place, because I am a positive person. If everyone had such a confident spirit in pursuing a dream or a career they loved, you wouldn't have to worry about not having the funds, working an unwanted job for the rest of your life. You'll be successful. There wouldn't be a depression in people because they believe in good things will happen in the future. It's like a faith. You just have to apply the patience and understand that some good things may not be materialistic. This world would not be so divided if we had an optimistic heart. Opt, the prefix, means to make a choice from a range of possibilities from Google's engine. I'm guessing you're wondering, what do I gain from optimism? As I am a part of this world as well. When I hear the word of optimism, I think of opportunity, choices. As a student, optimism helps set goals, educationally and personally. All in all, optimism will change the world. That's what they will gain. Thank you.
The world gains from optimism. You know that feeling you get when you walk into a really upbeat room where everyone is filled with positive energy. It just makes you feel really happy inside. That's the power of optimism. Could you imagine what the world would be like if we had more people focused on being optimistic, rather than seeing the darker side of a situation, or always assuming that the worst will happen? You see, optimism is simply a state of mind that everyone should have in our world. Being optimistic is more than just having a positive attitude. It means you can withstand what the world throws at you and say, bring it on. I can take it because I am optimistic. Optimistic people have certain habits that they display daily. For example, they donate their time to make a difference in the world. They're the ones who try to fix the problems in their community. Rather than complaining about the abandoned homes, crimes, drugs, and poverty, they do something about it. Better communities make better cities. Better cities make better countries. Better countries, ladies and gentlemen, make a better world. Optimistic people do their best to avoid negative behaviors. They surround themselves with other positive people. They look past the faults of others and see the good in everyone. They do their best to listen and solve problems with compassion instead of violence. In order to live in a world of peace and harmony, we must first come together as one. Imagine what our world would be like if Democrats and Republicans were more optimistic about working together to end problems in our world, rather than being held back by conflicts and debate. Optimists do not believe in failure. In fact, they see failure as an opportunity to learn and improve so that they could do better. Walt Disney was told that he had a lack of imagination. Today, he is known for bringing joy to millions of little kids and adults every day. He once said that the difference in winning and losing is most often quitting. I often hear students saying things like, "Oh, this is too hard," or "I'll never be able to do it." How can we make this world a better place if the future leaders are filled with pessimism? I myself was once stuck on this mindset, questioning my own skills and abilities, until I read a quote that made me realize that there is only one thing that makes a dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure. My peers must change their mindset from "I can't" to "I can," from "I will not" to "I will." The world can be a symbol of optimism if it is a place where teamwork means helping each other succeed, not watching each other fail, where brotherhood means rising together despite the color of our skin, and where peace means that we can all live in harmony. Thank you.
What the world gains from optimism. Well, what is optimism? Is it really what the world needs to believe in? How can being optimistic help me? These questions always arise when we're going through a struggle. But optimism is itself looking on the good side of everything, in struggle and in bliss. Being positive is what optimism is. Well, if optimism is so great, what can the world gain from it? This question just might be the question on everybody's mind today. And if it is, let's answer it by looking on what optimism has already given the world. First stop is the Wright brothers. Now, we all know these men inspired history to be at the point it is today in transportation. As usual, there's always talk on Wilbur and Orville's success as the first flight took off with Orville in the driver's seat in 1903. However, no one ever thinks about how many design failures, test failures, social failures, and just plain startovers they had before that small victory. With over 200 failures on the wing design alone of the plane, it's evident that these two brothers struggled. Test after test, they kept trying again. Their optimism, their ability to look past their failures, kept them going. It kept them going through all odds and all doubts set against them. Their optimism, persistence, and perseverance gave them hope that they would finish, and it gave history a new era of technology that's still built upon today. Their completion of the airplane carried optimistic dreams of hope and faith through history. Which leads me to my next point, is a man named Martin Luther King Jr. Why him, you may ask? You might think, what has his optimism done for the world? Well, that answer is simple. It's not just about him or his positive views. It's about the contagious spread of faith and morale that was fathered by this man's optimism. From the trials and tribulations that black and white Americans went through in Selma, Alabama, to the 250,000 black and white citizens that gathered at the nation's capital to share the dreams of this one man. All of Dr. King's participants followed his word, his leadership, and his direction to stand tall. Was Dr. King optimistic? Yes, of course he was. But unfortunately, he was shot and killed before his work could be finished. I say this to show today that his faith alone could not have changed the world, for he wasn't a part of the world long enough. But what did change the world were the hundreds and thousands of black and white citizens that showed optimism and continued to march after his death. What changed the world were all those who never gave up on nonviolence, even when violence was the only source used against them. Their optimism made Dr. King's dream a dream no more, but a goal each and every citizen today still strives to perfect. From Dr. King to Malcolm X to Trayvon Martin to Alton Sterling, our last stop is in our own backyards. Airplanes soar the skies due to the years of optimism held up by the Wright brothers. Social equality, which may not yet be perfect, nonetheless has made amazing progress. All this progress started with Dr. King and all those followed him. There are years and years of persistence that happened to be kept alive by the optimistic dreams of one man. One man that eventually gave us our rights, even after his own death. But what did all these people receive themselves? One intangible thing is hope. Hope is what optimism brings. It can potentially turn into the fastest transportation used by every continent on the planet. Hope, optimism, can inspire a race of people to stand up for their rights as people. But hope is always there. Hope that no more mothers and fathers are killed in front of their kids. Hope that summer starts 1 month earlier every year. And a hope that the world sees that by gaining hope as a product of worldwide optimism, the world also gains infinite possibilities.
What the world gains from optimism. I often wonder what kind of world this would be if everyone had an optimistic attitude. If everyone in a community decided to create a neighborhood where there is a sense of pride, or if everyone just gave a helping hand to those in need, what would the world look like? If they had an optimistic attitude, no one would listen to the negativity and doubt that come from naysayers. We would no longer allow those people to interfere with our goals, and we would always strive for success. You see, optimistic people gravitate towards smiling. Let's test that out. Everyone, turn to the person next to you and simply smile. Doesn't that feel good? Just to smile. We can all live healthier lives simply because of our attitudes. As the saying goes, use your smile to change the world. Don't let the world change your smile. If we were all more optimistic, then we would no longer complain about issues in our community. Instead, we would take action to help solve the problem. Every year, CNN showcases 10 heroes, people that give back to their community in a positive way. I'm talking about people like Sheldon Smith. Smith was raised without a father. After spending time in prison, he decided to change his ways and encourage other fathers in his community to be there for their child. he created the Dovetail Project, which provides African American men with guidelines and information about how to be a better father. His goal is to help break the cycle of African American children who are growing up without a father. If only we had more people like Cypress Craig Dodson, who, after visiting a group of students that lived in one of the city's roughest housing projects, decided to give back. Many people would have closed their eyes to this problem, but he founded the Richmond Cycling Corps in 2010, a nonprofit organization that gives at-risk children an outlet. Whether it's breaking the cycle of absent fathers in children's lives, or even teaching children discipline through a sport, optimistic people can change the world one positive step at a time. Never believe that a few caring people can't change the world. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm here to talk to you about the perks or benefits of being optimistic. Before going into this topic, I want to tell you what optimism is. According to the Webster's Dictionary, optimism is a feeling or a belief that good things will happen in the future. Now that you know what optimism is, I want you to do something. Reflect on a time where you have lost. It could be anything. A game of Connect Four, to failing a big test, or missing a big shot that could have got you a win for the championship game. Now that you've done that, think about how you felt at that time when you lost. Many of you felt sad, dispirited, angry, or even depressed about that loss. But what you should have felt is some sort of self-achievement or gratitude. That's because the game of life is based on lessons and reflections upon what you have just experienced. Now you know all the mistakes you made in the past to help you win in the future. One of the reasons why people should be more optimistic in the world because it leads to good health. One thing you never hear about is a depressed person that's happy at the same time, because it just doesn't work like that. Optimistic people are not worried about the consequences they made based on decisions they made before in the past, but they're looking at the good side of things and happiness in the world. So I encourage you, don't feel bad about the wrong choices you made in the past, but be happy you made those choices, because that's what made you become the person you are today, a strong individual capable of handling the same situation 10 times better. Another reason why you should be more optimistic is because you can achieve more of your life goals. Instead of feeling defeated when faced with a hard situation or decision, you'll feel challenged and hopeful that you will complete that decision with a great confidence. All right, for example, many people know about the March Madness that's going on right now, about the college basketball games. It's so unpredictable to figure out what teams will win. It's because that there's too many optimistic basketball players. You would never know. You would never know what teams will win because, they'd have a deficit at the team. The team would be losing the game, but there would be like one great player that believes that they can come back from that deficit and actually win the game. That's why many brackets are messed up right now. There's no perfect brackets at all. I'm pretty sure. But yeah. So, what does the world gain from optimism? I'll answer that for you. It gains less depression and more happiness. It gains more positivity and less negativity. It gains more promotions instead of unemployment. And finally, it gains self-achievement instead of failure. Optimists are never afraid to take on a risk. They take it on with confidence and no hesitation or doubt. Thank you for your time.
They did a marvelous job. So we really applaud your energy, your preparation, and then more importantly, your courage to come before this room of people. I don't know how many of you are speaking for the first time. We never would know if this was your first time, but we appreciate that you took the time to prepare and to compete. And so again, as we said at the beginning, all of you are winners just from those facets of being courageous and being prepared and energetic. So thank you so much. At this time, I would like to bring up all our contestants. Please wait for your name to be called. We're calling them in order. This does have nothing to do with first, second, or third. We're just calling all contestants forward. Jalicia Blue, Danny Colton, Landon Clark, Brianna Collins,
If you would stay up here, please.
Jalicia, come on back, please, and stand.
Come further down.
Reginald Johnson, Makia Von Colston, Nina Jackson, Courtney Wright, Jolena Shagan, she ain't gone. Thank you. Please let's applaud their efforts today. Molly will make presentations.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I thank you all for supporting our youth. This was an amazing program, amazing speakers, and I'm proud to announce at this time we have Mikkel Von Kosten as our third place winner. A bronze medallion and a check, which will fill in your name. Thank you. Congratulations. Our second place winner is Reggie Johnson. And our first place winner is Jolena Chingong. And I just think that all of them deserve another round of applause for their efforts. Congratulations, everyone.